Hello folks, welcome back to the Urban Rider Studio, where today I have a motorcycle helmet with me. This is the BILTWELL Lane Splitter, and as you might expect for this year, it now passes ECE 2206 safety standards. But it retains its USPs, the first of which is the unique styling on this one. The silhouette, the shape of it is quite aggressive, but it definitely stands out from the crowd. In particular, obviously that big chunky chin bar. It's also available in 8 different color options, and that's something that BILTWELL get really right. They have some more eye-catching designs, obviously some simpler ones as well, whichever you might prefer. And they are great value for money. I would definitely consider this an affordable helmet. I believe, although these are samples, they're coming in around £250 for a starting price, which granted is slightly more expensive than the previous version, but it is still good value for money. I would say contextually that's an important point to keep in the back of your mind, to look at it through that lens, that this is an affordable helmet. I think when you buy things on this kind of budget, it's really a question of where do you compromise? And they have made some compromises with this in comparison to a £400 or £500 or £1,000 helmet, obviously, but crucially, it still functions well. On the table as well, I have the previous version, just so you can compare in terms of size, look, and you will notice very little has changed in terms of the outer design of this. They look near as damn it the same, and they are practically the same size, although as you'll expect with the newer safety standards, helmets do tend to be a little bit bigger, but as with a lot of the helmets I've reviewed actually, it's not as noticeable as you might think. If I just clear some space though, I can show you, to start with, the comparison between the new and the old. So the green one here is in a size medium, as is the silver or white. It's actually a really nice color, this. It's got a bit of pearlescence to it, but they are both a medium. And you can see, hopefully, it illustrates on camera, that the newer version is slightly bigger than the previous. What I have noticed though, specifically in this size, medium, there is a difference for the EPS liner and the back of the helmet, the neck there. If I just hold up the previous version, hopefully you can see that it is noticeably thicker on the EPS liner against the back of your head. Now, again, this is a sample, but I believe this is how they will actually come to us when we finally get our stock. And you can see there is quite a difference actually in terms of the thickness just at the back there. You would notice, or expect, sorry, with the safer safety standards with ECE 2206, that it should have a thicker EPS liner on the inside, so as to be more impact absorbing. But again, and I will touch on this later, it does affect the fit ever so slightly. Now then, the particulars of this helmet, let's start with the outer shell. So they make this with an ABS outer shell. It is not fiberglass, as you'll find with some of their competitors, but as I say, very important to remember the price that this is coming in at. Now with ABS, one of the key differences there, I suppose, is that you're advised to change them a little bit sooner than you would with fiberglass or with carbon fiber. The recommendation when I first passed, I believe actually, was every 3 years you're supposed to change your helmet. I don't know how many people actually stick to that. And I definitely have some helmets that are older than 3 years, older than 5 years probably, even for my fiberglass helmets, and I'm still using them. It's just something to be aware of. The outer shell does degrade slightly faster than you'll find with other options like fiberglass. ABS shells are also typically slightly heavier than you'll find with fiberglass alternatives, the likes of Bell or Shoei, but then those helmets are often about twice the price of this one. It's not uncomfortably heavy, but it does have a weight to it. This one as a medium is listed between 1,560 grams plus or minus 50 grams depending on the accessories. Another area you'll find that BILTWELL simplified their helmets is that I think the previous version only came in 2 different shell sizes, which, as you'll have heard me mention lots in the past, often means that the helmet looks slightly bigger as a profile than it could do if you went with more shell sizes that closer match the internals. This is a somewhat large looking helmet. I think it wears it well, but also it has that big aggressive chin bar. So that's what I mean when I say it wears it well. It sort of looks appropriate, but there are definitely smaller helmets that you can find. It has ventilation, which is great, but you can't close it. Now, I would say that doesn't necessarily affect the soundproofing of this too badly. We've got other helmets that I think are actually noisier at high speeds. This one isn't too bad because there's nothing specifically that channels it past your ears. It's just on the front there, which will help clear the visor, stop it from misting up, allows airflow through. You've also got something along the side there on your chin, and then you have an exhaust vent around the reverse. Now, with some other options, you will notice that the vents you've got on your forehead allow the air to channel through. That's not the case with this one, so you can find better ventilation with other helmets, but at least it has some. And if you want still more airflow on the bottom, the chin curtain is removable. And I think for me, with this type of helmet, I probably would just take that out most of the year anyway. The shape is very distinctive. I actually quite like the fact that it's got this extended chin bar because I've got quite a long face. So I do find that depending on the helmet, some of them sit quite snug, close up to my nose, close up to my chin. And sometimes I can even feel my nose pressing against the helmet. Didn't feel that at all on this one, funnily enough. But it also has this urethane chin bar, which is slightly cushioned. It's relatively tough, but it means if you did touch that with your face, that it's not going to be uncomfortable like a hard plastic that you'd find in a different helmet. It uses an injection molded polycarbonate shield. You can get that in a tint, and I think the majority of these helmets you will see on the street are going to have a dark tint, and it looks really good actually with a smoke visor. Now, the fact that it's injection molded means that it is of a slightly higher quality than you might expect for this price point, because it just holds that curvature slightly better. It's thicker, it's nicer to interact with. I also really like the fact that you've got this big tab on the side, which makes it super easy to find with a pair of gloves on, really easy to use, and you'll see that it just moves over the top of that brass attachment on the front. And the anodized metal mechanism for the visor can actually be changed. I believe you can go for different colors if you want to accessorize after the fact. And the hinge, I think, has been remodeled actually over the previous version. So they've given it more robust dents is the term that they used. Basically just means they've cut it out ever so slightly deeper, which means that the notches you'll find across there are a little bit more distinct than previous BILTWELL helmets. And I think this is the same mechanism they've used as well on the Gringo helmet, which definitely had a noticeable improvement in their visor mechanism, and I certainly appreciated that. But it does feel really nice to interact with. I think on some of their really old helmets, what you'd find over time is it would loosen. The more you used it, you have to keep retightening it, and you won't have that with this one, which is great to see. That's a big improvement. Something I would have liked to see though is pin lock on their helmets. Again, this is where that price is an important piece of context. Now it does have an anti-scratch and anti-fog coating, which works reasonably well, but it's never going to work as seamlessly as pin lock, where in the winter, obviously, with my helmets, for example, they never mist up. It is very trustworthy, and if it ever does mist up, that generally means that I need to swap out the pin lock and just change it over. And when you do that, again, you have clear vision. With this one, you will find, I have a guess, in the winter that sometimes this is going to mist up. Then if we move on to the internals, first and foremost, you have a double D-ring closure around your neck there. That is comfortable. The liner is really comfortable as well. Hugs your face well. You can take out the cheek pieces. You can swap those out if you need to. You can take out the liner and wash it as you might need to. It has pockets around your ears if you do want to fit an intercom system. When it comes to sizing, we have the size guide on the website. Please refer to that if you have any questions, or drop us a comment down below. I would say this is, broadly speaking, the same as the Gringo in terms of its shape and its internals. And I believe with that one, what we'll have said is it is a universal fit. It fits the majority of head shapes, with a mention of caution for anyone with a really oval fitting head. Not myself, I have an intermediate oval, slightly longer than it is round. Round fitting heads are fine in these as well, but if you've got a really long fitting head, then you might want to tread with caution with this one and just double check if you want to size up. It features a newly designed dual density EPS liner on the inside for impact absorption. That's part of the reason, obviously, they passed these new safety standards. But specifically when it comes to sizing, with the medium in front of me here, and again, I'll reiterate, this is a sample. For me, I can usually fit into a medium. I tend to buy a large, but my head is a size 58, 59, so that really is where I'm playing. Now with most other brands, I can at least squeeze it into a medium if it's not a comfortable fit. With this one, because it has that thicker section at the back there with the liner, over the large, and as I pointed out, even over the previous version in a medium, that actually was prohibitive for my sizing. So whilst the large actually fit on and it was comfortable, the medium was too much of a squeeze. So just bear that in mind when you're buying for yourself. If you find, like me, you're between two sizes, just keep that in the back of your mind and double check, ask questions if you have any when it comes to sizing. And that was the BILTWELL Lane Splitter. It is a good helmet. It is great value for money. And I think for most people, if they were looking to buy this, it's gonna come down to the looks because you like the fact that it is quite unique looking compared to a lot of their competitors. But if you want something similar in terms of function, but you prefer a more classic shape for your motorcycle helmets, obviously you can look at the BILTWELL Gringo as well, and we'll drop links to those in the description down below if you want to compare and contrast. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and we'll see you soon.